Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 72. Sometimes it takes a stranger. As always, I'm going to start out with my big list of thank yous and welcomes. You guys are very important to me and I want to be sure that you understand how important you are to me. Special thank you goes out to all of my subscribers, new and ongoing. I love you guys. What you see here is really all about you. I'm always looking to hear from you about what you want to hear and see what you'd like demonstrated. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. Hello and welcome go to Darlene, Chelsea, and Elise. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for adding me to your lives. Special love and thanks go out to Wendy, Rosalie, Teresa L., Susan, Wheezy, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Christy, Neetsy, Charlotte, Chris, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, Linda, Bente, Faye, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott and John, Carolyn, Kate, and Terry at Unwound, Bex, Nancy, and Rachel. And a warm hello and thank you go to all of my patrons. You honor me. A huge collective thanks from many of my viewers and most certainly from myself for the benefits that you have provided us. Better lighting, better sound. I'm very grateful and thank you for your patronage. This is going to be a tough episode for me. It won't be hard for you. I'm going to start out with my life stuff. I think I had a wake-up call this week, and yeah, we're gonna dig into this. I received an email yesterday from a viewer that made me cry. Made me cry, but in the best way possible. But it also shook my tree and it made me aware of some things about myself that I need to make some changes to pretty quick here. The backstory. I'm going to provide that individual that wrote to me with a lot of privacy. Despite having permission to share in the abstract, I'm going to be very private about this email in honor and thank you. This individual has recently been through a tough time in their own lives. They had what should have been a minor medical procedure that unfortunately had some complications, and the complication is it's significant. It's significant. It's painful. It's going to require a lot of physical therapy. It required an additional surgery and has some ongoing lasting effects that are not fun. And this individual has been persevering, soldiering on, doing the physical therapy, taking that time out. But physical therapy is so much more than moving your body. They really need to rename it because physical therapy is a mind-body reconnection. Very much so in this particular case, where you're retraining your body. Whether it's learning to walk, learning a better posture, you're retraining your body, but you're retraining your brain at the same time. And it's taxing. It's emotionally taxing, it's physically taxing, it's fatiguing, and it can be spirit-breaking, really honestly spirit-breaking. This individual in their downtime has been watching my podcasts and wrote to me because they had watched some of my more personal podcasts like this one, especially during the time period where I was going through physical therapy, and I was encouraging everyone to hang in there, to apply your mind to it, to put your heart into it, that, you know, see the end. You can do this. You matter. You are loved. Keep going. And my message got through to this person in a big way and really struck them. And my message was the support that they needed. And it made them cry. And they reached out to me and thanked me for that support and gave me love back. That means so much to me. And that means a lot to me just on a daily basis. To know that I reached somebody, that I made any kind of positive impact in your life is huge. Whether it is I showed you a stitch that you've been struggling with, or I gave you a new technique that enables you to knit or dye better, or I gave you the emotional support that you needed to get through your day. Here's where it gets tough. This email came at a particularly difficult time in my life. And I have been avoiding my vulnerability in a big way. And I have been storing up a lot of shame and soldiering on, thinking, I don't do vulnerable. I march on, and I can choose what I'm vulnerable about. I can choose what I show my public. And to some degree, that's safe and that's healthy. But you're my knitting circle. You're my private group. You are the people that I love. You're my chosen family. And if I'm going to invest in that, I don't always get to pick and choose. I need to invest fully, and I need to be vulnerable. I need to be honest. And I haven't been. I wholly admit that I have told a lie. And knowing now the impact that my more personal podcasts have made, my more in-depth podcasts have made, where I discussed my vulnerabilities, where I discussed needing courage, needing compassion, these episodes, that they have made such an impact, indicates to me that I need to stop pulling back from that, and I need to continue that. If that's not what you're looking for, if you're just looking for straight knitting, straight dyeing, I'm very sorry. I'm here to offer more of myself than that. And there are many other podcasters available who only want to show you knitting or dyeing. And please, if you're looking for recommendations, I will recommend other podcasts to you. But if you're here and you choose to invest in this, and you choose to connect with another human, and not feel so alone in your own hardships and struggles, you're in the right place, and we're going to do this together. We're going to do this together. So what's my big tragic thing? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'm not getting divorced. I'm not dying. I'm not quitting knitting, designing, or dyeing. Nothing tragic like that. I simply need to be more authentic with myself and my emotions and some of the garbage in my life. So, what was the big thing? Why was this such a big deal to me? The email came the day after my son's 17th birthday. I recently lied to you guys and told you that I didn't think he was going to be coming out this summer. I may have been even more obscure than that. And that's me feeling shame and frustration and covering that up and trying to protect myself. The truth of the matter is, I have not spoken to him since January. If you're a parent, I'm sure you understand. This is devastating to me. If you've seen the episodes with me with my son, you know how much I love him. You know how proud of him I am. I don't know why. I don't know why. I continue to reach out to him. He does not respond. Part of me is very factual and logical and comfortable with this and recognizes that he is 17. He lives half a country away from me. He has his own life. He is headed into his senior year of high school. He has a girlfriend. He's a busy boy. And out of sight, out of mind, off the radar, I know that I wasn't horribly involved with my parents at this age. They were not an important part of my priorities in life. So my logical mind understands. My heart does not. There is shame. What is shame? Let's address shame. I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown. If you're not familiar with her work on shame and vulnerability, get familiar. This is her book, Daring Greatly. She's brilliant. She did a TED Talk that was groundbreaking, probably one of the greatest TED Talks ever. But she specifically studies shame and vulnerability. And she has a definition of shame. Shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. I'm there. I'm there. I battle with, what have I done? Have I offended him? Am I not cool enough? all the nonsense, all the ghosts, all the gremlins that sit on your shoulder and whisper in your ear and degrade you and tell you that you're not enough. The truth of the matter is I am enough, and I hurt so bad because not only am I missing out on his life, but I know he's missing out on mine. If you're going through this, if you have lost someone to death or distance, I get it. You are not alone. If you simply suffer shame that you are not enough, that you are not good enough, not worthy, you're not alone. And I'm giving this vulnerability, this honesty, this pain to you as an example that you are not alone. I don't mean for this to be high drama. I'm not trying to sensationalize the situation. Not at all. This sucks. I do not want to ever tell anybody this. It hurts. This is really me giving to you a human relatable situation so that you know you're not alone. And it's also me breaking through the barriers of the gremlins whispering in my ear and being vulnerable so that the pain will stop. And sometimes breaking down and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to be seen is what will stop that pain. To have one other person say, I love you as much as a total stranger could love anyone, makes all the difference. Makes all the difference. So to the person that I helped, as I told you in our email conversation, you taught the teacher and you have no idea how much you matter to me and how much I needed this. Thank you. I'm going to take a short break. I'll be right back. Right, so I'm back. Just needed to clean myself up a little bit. I don't want to put armor on. I don't want to lie to you. I don't. I think it's important to have someone in your life. Not somebody who's always a tragic figure, not somebody who is always just the example of the worst. no. But somebody who is marching forward through it, finding their own resolutions, just as an example of the human experience of strength, inner strength, so that you know you have it within you to do the same. And I hope that I can be that for you. I hope that you're not looking at this going, oh, drama, drama, I can't, no, I'm not doing this. I hope that you look at this with not sympathy, but self-reflection, and recognize an opportunity in your life where you need to be brave, where you need to be vulnerable, where you need to show up and be heard to resolve your issues. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown. She has several books out. This is one of 3 I own, I think. And really, they're great to keep going back to. I'm going back. I'm going back. Because I realized in this introspection preparing for this that I have been specifically doing everything possible to make my experience more and more difficult by believing that vulnerability shows weakness. Instead of coming forward and being honest and saying this is what's happening and it hurts, I was hiding, and I was even lying to some people about what was going on, that, oh, he has other plans. I don't know. I have no bleeding idea what his issue is. I suspect 17 would be his issue. I'm flipping quickly through her book looking for the other blockers and creators. That I don't do vulnerability. I'm not vulnerable. Of course I'm not vulnerable. That's a myth. That does bad things to you. The vulnerability is letting it all hang out. I haven't told you all of it. I haven't. I'm not hiding anything, but I am not giving you all of my lurid wah. I'm not. To briefly encapsulate that, I have been bitter. I have thought vindictive thoughts. I have beat up on myself in the worst ways, without getting detailed. Yeah. Vulnerability is not letting it all hang out. Vulnerability is showing up and being seen and addressing. And I'm flipping. That we can all go it alone. The last myth of vulnerability. We can't. We need each other. We need each other. And sometimes that is turning to your physical therapist and going, I can push myself to do this physically, but I'm having a hard time finding my mental core, my emotional core, and helping push that through too. And I know that they need to be bonded, that I need to heal holistically my whole self in order to go forward. We can't go it alone. We need each other. We need each other. I need you, obviously. I needed that email message so bad yesterday. So bad. I read it, I cried, I showed it to my husband, I cried. And he was right there with me. He knew exactly what I was going through at that moment, and he's as frustrated as I am. He handles it differently. I think we all have our own experiences and our own way of handling things. I don't want to say that he handles it differently because he's male and I'm female. We handle it differently because he is a stepfather and I am the mother. That's how that goes. But we need connection. That's my point, is we need connection. Sometimes it takes a total stranger to be your best friend in that moment, to make that connection to you, to be the cathartic thing that changes your world and changes your life. So, on top of, and this has been going on for months, as I indicated to you, this is something that has been brewing since my last contact in January, and prior to that contact it had been October. I'm trying to come to peace with it. I am in communications with his father. We have a fantastic relationship. He does explain to me that he's 17, He's got his own world, his own priorities. That doesn't prevent it from hurting. At least it is not. I am so very, very fortunate, thank you, that this is not some post-divorce, embattlement, parent against parent nonsense. I am so grateful that I am not in that situation. My ex-husband and I co-parent, although me from a distance, and it is a strong relationship, and I am ever grateful for it. However, one of my dogs was recently diagnosed with lymphoma, and her prognosis is not good. We're going to give her the best 3 months any dog could have. But unfortunately, although she hasn't got an expiration date on her paw, we roughly know what's going to happen with her health. She's likely to have to be put down, and I will be putting her down. I do not believe in letting my animals suffer and be in pain. She will live to the best, and when there is a decline, we will humanely euthanize. But that is likely to happen about the same time my son usually comes out in the summer to visit. So I'm one of those people that I leave, there's like emotional periods on my calendar. Yeah, this week is meaningful to me, and that weekend is meaningful to me, and when I get back to them, I often have emotions stored there, whether they are good or bad, that are just waiting for me when I get there. And I don't know that that's an uncommon experience. I don't know. So I'm dreading that time, not only for loss of my love, but just the compounded emotions of that period. There'll be a lot of knitting. I'm a lunatic. Knitting for me, and I'm quite sure that I'm speaking to a crowd that's all going, yeah. Knitting for me is my meditation. It is my quiet time. It is the time in which I have a soothing texture, very tactile. I have a soothing rhythm, repetitive. I have a sound, clicking. I have a silence otherwise. Maybe I have the TV on, maybe I have the radio on, maybe I'm listening to a book. Often, I'm not. Often, it's just me and my thoughts. And that back and forth rhythm is so very much like EMDR. Eye movement. I can't remember what the D stands for. It's a therapy. I've spoken to you about it before. Certainly look up EMDR. Fantastic therapy. And it helps you put things in the right place in your brain. It is what's happening. And in this meditative state, I do a lot of healing, and I get over a lot of things. My knitting's been limited lately. I have finished the Farmhouse shawl. I finished it. We're actually going to block it today. But I will be doing a lot of knitting in the weeks to come, with more focus on intention, that I'm worthy, that I'm not alone, that these are common human experiences, that my feelings are justified, that I am allowed to feel, that I'm not alone in my struggle. And although I'll be sitting alone and linking stitches, I will not be alone in my mind, because I will know that I have other people who understand. That is so healing. That is so healing. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody about this, and how sometimes just being with knitters in a room, if I'm on my lunch break and I'm down in the lobby and I see other people that are waiting for loved ones in surgery who are knitting or crocheting. There's something soothing simply about their presence. I don't need to know them. I don't need to know the project. Just their presence and the energy that is coming off of them as they process, as they handle, as they enjoy. There's something very soothing and comforting about it. And I was mentioning this to someone and they said, have you ever seen the movie Lars and the Real Girl? If you haven't, it's cool. It's really a good movie. But at one point there's kind of a loss of a loved one, and the women in town all show up and they come to his house and they sit down around him and they all pull out their knitting and they say, this is what we do. We come, we sit, and we knit. And there's something very healing about that, very healing about that. So not only am I doing my designs and I'm excited about my new designs, but I'm going to be knitting. And that's going to bond me together and pull my mind and my emotions and my body back together. And it is a form of physical therapy. I also, because I have been under these stressors, have not been focusing on myself or my body. And I have not been doing my ongoing home post-healing physical therapy. Boy, this is a confession episode, is it not? My shoulder's bothering me again. Yeah. So I'm starting to do my exercises again. I need to look in my monitor and correct my posture. Roll that shoulder back. It's such a problem. And I need to breathe. I know these things. Isn't it funny how many lessons we have to repeat and how many times we have to repeat them to get it right? Yuck. Yuck. So, like I said, moving on. Let's yuck. Knitting. I have finished the Farmhouse shawl. I completed the knitted on lace edge. Some people refer to it as an applied edging. It's lovely. I'm very excited about it. I've woven in my ends. It is going to, well, we're going to do this together. I'm going to lay it out for you and show you what it looks like pre-blocking. I'm going to give it a soak. And then I'm going to show you how I tackle a unique shaped item when I'm blocking it, because there's a lot of edges here. There's a lot of different angles going on, and that can be overwhelming. It can be hard to know how to start, where to begin to get this crumpled up bit of lace and stockinette to look wonderful. So we're going to do that today. And I think I'll insert that segment here. Here's the completed Farmhouse shawl. All the ends are woven in, and I've laid it out just flat on a table to show you a before blocking image. You can see that the edge is curling at the bottom. You can see that the edge is curling up here at the neck, and that overall the lace is just closed. It's not open. There's nothing fantastic about it. The stripes are beautiful. The yarn is beautiful. But blocking is really going to make all the difference in this and make it sing. If you're looking at this and thinking, well, she kind of rolled up the edge to show us this rolling. No, believe it, if I pull this down, just like a spring, right back. We're going to give this a nice long bath, probably between 30 and 40 minutes. I'm going to put it in a solution of some warm water, room temperature, a little bit of soap, and I'm going to whip in, as always, some of my L'Oreal Everpure. This is a moisture conditioner. It has, well, it's designed for colored hair, so it helps retain color. Really a fantastic product. I whip those two together and add the water, and then I add this to the bath and let it soak. All right, so let's discuss blocking. Blocking is more than just pinning out, it's also the washing process. You want to remove any dirts or oils from your project, anything that it picked up out on the streets with you, Cheetos, sticky coffee spills, anything like that, or just plain leftover dye can sometimes wash out of this process. Then we're going to pin it out to dimensions. I will provide final dimensions in my pattern. However, it's about how aggressive you are with your blocking. You can really make things a lot bigger or a lot smaller depending on how you block it. I could block this right now simply to these dimensions and it would stay there, or I could block it and really open up that lace. And that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to get that lace very visible, make it sing, make it the centerpiece of the project. So the first thing I'm going to do is identify the largest area, the largest region of the pattern, and that's where I'm going to start my blocking action. In this particular case, I'm looking at this section here. This section really dictates by how much I stretch it, how these sections are going to respond. So I'm going to start all of my action here on this middle section of the shawl. There's going to be a lot of me running around and putting in lines. I'm likely to speed up the video a little bit, but generally this is my action, this is how I do this. So let's begin. You can see from the washing already, it's already started to relax. It's already bigger than the original shot that I took of this. So it's already started to just become something wonderful, and I love the feel of it. It is so soft and lovely. And I'm just kind of blocking out where on my mat this is going to land so that I have space for everything. I'm going to try to look for, in this span here, the middle of my table. Hopefully that'll give me enough space. And I'm looking at the increased sections here, and I'm just going to put a pin in each of those increased sections. Don't want to stretch it too far, but I want to be sure I stretch it far enough. A yardstick is super handy in this process. I'm just using these as benchmarks to begin. Just because you pin it doesn't mean it's permanent. You can move all of your pins. This is just the initial guide. There, not bad. I have this squared up. Like I said, this is going to be my first focus here. I just have these pinned out because I know what this distance is, and I know I want this distance to match this distance on each side here. It's the same stitch count. I want them to match up, with the exception of the 3 on the edge. Now there's going to be a lot of pulling. So I want to be sure that I have this edge really stable, and I'm just going to put in a pin every couple of inches here, or closer. I can always remove pins, I can always move pins, I can always change where they are. But I want that edge to be nice and stable to begin with. Now I'm going to make use of a blocking wire, and I'm actually going to go through the points here on the edge of the lace, because I want those points to really stand out in the final piece. So my blocking wire has been run through all the points. Now I'm just going to use some pins to pull that line down. This blocking wire may not accommodate all of my points once I have this pulled out. This line should be at a 45-degree angle, and sometimes just brushing and patting it will bring that over in place for us. Not only am I going to pin the blocking wire, but I'm going to pin here in the stockinette to keep that 45-degree line. And I'm really pulling down, not straining it per se, but pulling down to open up this lace here and the points at the end. Now my blocking wire is not going to be quite sufficient. That's okay. We can overlap our blocking wires and extend them as far as we need to. And I'm sure you're looking at this and going, that's not straight. It's okay, pins move. We just need to get it set up. Then we'll start squaring stuff around. I do want to get that line though, 45. Now part of this is that the sides haven't been blocked yet, so there's nothing to substantiate and keep this from pulling in. That's okay. We'll get there. All right, the basis has been done. These are turning in here. That's okay. Once we block these out, it'll stabilize and bring them over. Then we'll make final adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and run the blocking wires on each of the sides for the lace, and we'll go from there. First though, I want to stabilize this neck edge before I start pulling down toward here. Okay. So again, I have an edge here that has a 45-degree incline. I want to start pulling that out to that 45 degrees, and I want to pin that bottom edge. But I also have this I want to bring down. So let's start with extending the body first, and then worrying about edges and measurements and distances. Look at how that lace just opens right up. Beautiful. That's what we want. We want it to be visual. This is looking rough. We're okay. We're going to leave it just like that. This is starting to come into 45 for us, and it may require a little bit of tweaking, top and bottom. Let's go get that last edge. Okay, we have the very basics of the initial pinning out, and it's time to start making adjustments. And part of that is really just tugging it. It's starting to dry. You may want to re-moisten it even. Make sure you don't have a scalloped edge. You don't want it to be pulling so hard that everything is pulling and scalloping. But you should start to see defined diagonals here at the 45. They're still a little curvy. That and this should be a 45 as well. So we need to get lines in associated to these. I like to go just inside the border stitches rather than through the edge of the border. I think going through the edge of the border has a tendency to cause a little bit of a scalloping and less of a defined clean edge. Whereas if you go inside the edge of the edge stitches, then you get a more defined line and it's more stable for pulling out. And I'm just going every couple rows or so, probably every 3 to 4 rows I'm weaving in. The stripes are really going to help guide you. You're going to be able to see when lines are straight or not, simply because the stripe's going to be all wavy. Alright, so you're seeing me start to make adjustments. This is where things start to get kind of math nerdy. This is a square. It happens to have 1/4 of it missing and a donut in the middle. But ultimately, there's 3 sections that are identical, and we want them to block out to be roughly identical. This one is showing 14 inches deep. This one I know is much further, 17. This needs to be stretched out further. This side here is showing 15. So we're going to move some lines and start to really block this open. If this one here is looking good and is at 17, then we need to aim for 17 on these. However, when we start to stretch these this way, it's going to shorten this one. So we're going to keep an eye on all the measurements. Start tugging. Nothing over the top, nothing too dramatic. Just a simple inch will make all the difference. And it's there, it's very elastic. Don't be afraid to move your points around. Let them slide around on that blocking wire to be where they need to be. Alright, let's see how we're doing here. This one hasn't moved much. We're still roughly at 17. We're still at 15 here, and we're at 14 there. So I know that this edge needs to move, and this edge needs to move. So there's going to be some shifting. That's okay. We knew this was going to happen. Much better. We're at 15.5, and this is going to start being robbed. See how this is scalloping? Release them, repin them. It's starting to steal height to make width for these. That's okay. They're all going to even out. We're going to have 3 identical sides. $15.5, 15.5. This one's probably still strong. 16. We're looking really good. They're just about equal. Next thing I want to look at is these diagonals. This diagonal line should be matching up with this diagonal line, so I've definitely got stuff pulling incorrectly here. Same is happening here. I want this diagonal line to match up with this diagonal line. Things are still a little wonky and pulling in wrong directions. That's just moving stuff around. We can do this. Part of that is we're going to inch this in that 1/2 inch that it was strong. Oop, there's a missed point right there. Glad we caught that now. That one's looking a lot better. Couple little edging here. in for you. Now you see that diagonal is lining up nicely with this diagonal. We know that's pretty square. This one, however, is still a little bit off down at the bottom over there, so I'm going to go correct that. Looking good and square there. I want to correct this edge. That belongs out there. And then smooth these out a little bit. Now you'll see that the neck has grown a little bit. It's been stretched out a little bit more. That's fine. All right, final checks. Let's see how we're doing here. So middle of this side, I'm looking at about 15.5. Middle of this side, about 15.5. Middle of this side, just a little bit shy. I'm looking at 15.25. Quick tug on that will get that corrected. At this point, you can get super nerdy with this, and you can measure the diagonals to make sure that your diagonals match perfectly. You can move all your points around and make sure that your points are as lovely as you want them. You have a lot of options here. This is yours. It's how you're going to wear it, what you want it to look like. Have to correct that though. I'm not happy with that. There we go. There. I'm satisfied with it. Once this is completely dried, it's going to be very drapey and lacy. It's going to be lovely. I do recommend at this point, once it's all pinned out, spritzing it down with water. I just give it a good soaking spritz, not dripping, but enough that when you pat it, you can tell that moisture is there, that it's moistening it all down. You want that so that those stitches really set and aren't just pulled into place at this point. You want them to be where they're finally going to be. This is a tail I need to trim when it's all blocked. This is why I recommend trimming my tails last. You saw this grow, and you saw this grow significantly. So all those tails pulled in a little bit from their weaving in. They're finally in their final resting spot, and so trimming them now will not cause them to come forward into the front of your work. And I like to just push the water in so it's not sitting on top, really get it down into those stitches. Now I was really fussy about getting my diagonals even and everything. You don't have to be. When this is around your neck, nobody is going to see, oh, she's not at a 45-degree angle. It's not going to matter. Those things are not going to be important. What's important is that you had it evenly stretched out as evenly as you could, so that the lace in one section isn't more stretched than the lace in another section, so that the stripes are not misshapen, where it's really big stripes over here and narrow stripes over there. You want it to be generally even so that the overall look of it is uniform. That is blocking the Farmhouse shawl. This is going to be gorgeous. I can't wait to wear it. I'm very excited about it. And I think now I need to return to our regularly scheduled podcast and then go get working on the 3-color one. And through the magic of editing, we're time traveling, we're back here. Just gonna follow up on some housekeeping, administrative kind of things. The design along is continuing, it is ongoing. I hope to be in touch with you very soon about some test knitting opportunities. Certainly if you're a designer and you're putting stuff in, please remember that we have a thread for chattering questions, as well as any progress notes. We do have one thread that is specifically for finished objects. Please post your entries only there, no chatter there. You are welcome to farm for test knitters in the chatter thread. If somebody else is saying, wow, I love that, that's beautiful, contact them, see if they'd be interested in test knitting. We are a community, we're here to support each other. And I would be very surprised if somebody said, oh, I don't do that. You're welcome to look for test knitters there, especially if you're trying to develop and knock this out for something that you're going to publish. If also you're looking for assistance in listing your pattern up on Ravelry, I'm more than happy to help. I've got a number of them up there. It can be a little bit confusing and daunting at first to get through their formula to list your pattern for sale, but certainly I'm more than happy to sit down with you and step you through the process and answer any questions that you have. The design along does continue through until September 1st, so we get tons of time. Well, no, we don't. Maybe we do. It depends on what stage you're at. My 2-color farmhouse is complete. I do need to get it teched and written up for you. My 3-color is still kind of, I have some things I need to sort out. Math. Moving on. We are going to do our Knit Together community mixer in August. That's going to be very much like a pen pal name exchange. I'm very excited about that. I'm still working out some details on how we're going to handle that because I do want most of the colors to be one of a kind colors. I'm kind of going to go into the lab and see what I can create rather than giving you the opportunity to buy a colorway that anybody can purchase. I'd like you to have the opportunity to buy something unique. My next YouTube Live. I did a YouTube Live Wednesday and I had a ball. That was great fun. Thank you to everyone who showed up. Your support meant the world to me. I was terrified I was going to be alone. Thank you for your questions. There were a couple questions I don't think I got to. At one point it started to stream really quickly and it was kind of difficult for me to catch up. I will be reviewing it again and looking for any questions that I missed. It was really off the hip. I have not had a chance to review it since. I really want to make sure that I address everything. I will be doing another one. I think that I'm going to do YouTube Lives about monthly. The next one, unfortunately, is going to be scheduled for the same time block. I have it scheduled currently for Wednesday, July 11th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 1 a.m. GMT, 2 a.m. London. Eastern Standard is 9 p.m. Central is 8 p.m. Pacific is 6 p.m. I'm very much hoping that I'm going to schedule, that I'm going to have the opportunity to schedule one on, I think, a Saturday morning. That should give Europe a little bit better opportunity than 3 a.m. To join in. And so I'm going to try and work that out and see if we can't do a weekend one as well. And that may be more convenient here to some of our North American people as well. If you have a specific time slot that you think would work very well to you, I'm open to suggestions and I will do the best I can to try and make things as convenient as possible, because that was fun and I think a lot of people enjoyed it. It was particularly rewarding to have people interacting with each other and not necessarily me. My knit circle was interacting with each other. I love that. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Are you a podcaster? Do you wish to be featured? Please send me an email. I've really only received a couple people that were interested in being featured. Please let me know. Don't be shy about it. I would really love to talk about you to my audience. Patreon. As always, if you're not familiar with my Patreon page, please take a look. There are gifts and rewards at every level. And your patronage makes all this possible. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. If you have suggestions for other enhancements that you'd like to see, please let me know where you want your dollars spent. And We're ultimately aiming to be able to video classes and have them up on the Patreon page, and I am developing more exclusive content for you there as well for all my patrons. The next drawing is July 7th for all of the drawing level prizes. It's the 7th or the 8th. It depends on what day I podcast. I always do it live for you guys. That is it. I'm going to summarize simply by saying thank you. If you held in there with me, if this doesn't relate to your life and you're just there as emotional support for me, thank you. If this is not your cup of tea, if you do not want to talk about things like shame and vulnerability and human experience and how we handle things, I'm sorry. This is me. This is who I really am. And my big wake-up call this weekend was that I needed to be more authentic, more true to myself, and more true to you folks. So this is what I am. I would love to have you around forever. So I hope that I get to see you again next week. Until then, keep stitching. Bye.